This is Mr. Oliver, and today I'm having the conversation with fathers that society says you're not allowed to have with your sons. The conversation that could save him years of pain, tens of thousands of dollars, his mental health, and possibly his entire future. The conversation about women, relationships, and reality that every father owes his son. Whether society approves or not, I'm not speaking to young men directly today. I'm speaking to fathers, grandfathers, uncles, older brothers, any man who has younger males in his life heading into the dating market completely unprepared for what they're about to face. And I'm telling you directly, if you don't have this conversation, you're failing him. Now let me address something before we go further. Most of you watching this never got this conversation from your own fathers. Not because your fathers didn't care, but because they didn't have the information themselves. They came up in different times when the rules were different, when the risks were lower, when marriage actually functioned as advertised. They couldn't warn you about dynamics they'd never experienced. But you've lived it. You've seen what modern relationships actually look like. You've watched good men get destroyed by dynamics nobody warned them about. And now you have a choice. Stay silent like the generation before you, or break the cycle. Give your son the information that could protect him from mistakes that cost decades to recover from, if recovery is even possible. Let me tell you why this matters to me personally. I have a nephew, 28 years old now. Good kid, engineering degree, stable career, everything going for him. He met a woman when he was 24. She seemed perfect during the year and a half they dated. Kind, supportive, shared his values, got along with the family. Everyone approved. They married. 2 years into the marriage, she's a completely different person. Controlling, critical, emotionally volatile. Every conversation becomes a fight. Every decision requires her approval. He can't see friends without interrogation. Can't pursue hobbies without guilt. His entire life has become managing her moods and walking on eggshells. He came to me 6 months ago, exhausted, defeated. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, "I wish someone had told me what to watch for. I thought this was just how relationships worked. I thought the changes were normal. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already trapped." That conversation haunts me because I could have had it with him years earlier, before he made irreversible decisions. But I didn't. I assumed he'd figure it out. I assumed someone else would tell him. I was wrong, and now he's paying the price. So I'm having this conversation publicly despite the backlash, despite being called every name available for daring to suggest young men need protection from dynamics designed to exploit them. Because the next generation deserves better than to learn these lessons the hard way. Your responsibility starts here. Society has completely abdicated responsibility for preparing young men for relationship realities. Schools won't teach this. They're teaching that women are victims and men are privileged oppressors. Media won't teach this. They're portraying relationships as partnerships where if you just communicate well enough, everything works out. Women certainly won't teach this. Not because all women are bad, but because the women who would exploit your son aren't going to warn him about their tactics. So who's left? You. That's it. You're the only source of honest information about female nature, relationship dynamics, and the traps waiting for him. If you stay silent, your son will learn through devastating first-hand experience, after he's already committed, after the decisions are irreversible, after the damage is done. Your discomfort with this conversation is irrelevant compared to his future. Have it anyway. Now let me give you the framework, the truths young men need to understand. First, women are attracted to different qualities than what they claim. This disconnect is one of the most damaging lies young men are told. Women will tell your son they want nice guys, kind, respectful, emotionally available, good communicators, men who treat them well and value their opinions. And your son, if he's a good kid with decent values, will think, great, I'll be all those things. And he'll get friend-zoned consistently. Women will appreciate him, value his friendship, come to him for emotional support when the men they're actually attracted to treat them poorly. But they won't date him. They won't desire him. They'll tell him he's such a good guy while pursuing men who are the opposite of everything they claim to want. Here's what you need to tell him. Attraction and appreciation are completely different things. Women appreciate kindness, reliability, emotional support. These qualities make men good partners, but they don't create attraction. They create gratitude and comfort, not desire. Women are attracted to confidence, strength, decisiveness, challenge. These qualities trigger biological responses: the spark, the excitement, the desire. Your son needs to understand this before he wastes years being the nice guy women appreciate but don't desire. Tell him this clearly. Being a good man and being an attractive man are not the same thing. He can be both, but he needs to establish attraction first through confidence and standards. Then his good qualities become assets instead of liabilities. Second truth. He needs boundaries, and he needs to enforce them immediately. Not after she's tested him 100 times. Not after he's already established himself as someone with no standards. Immediately. Let me be clear about something the other discussions of this topic get wrong. This isn't about women running biological tests to evaluate genetic fitness. That's overthinking it. What actually happens is simpler and more problematic. Some women, particularly younger women who haven't developed emotional maturity, will push boundaries to see what they can get away with. It's not a test. It's boundary exploration. And if your son doesn't enforce boundaries immediately, he's teaching her that he has none. Once that pattern is established, it's nearly impossible to change. She's learned that disrespect has no consequences, that her moods control his behavior, that she can push and he'll accommodate. So tell your son, when she says something disrespectful, address it immediately. When she expects him to drop everything for her convenience, maintain his priorities. When she creates drama over nothing, don't reward it with attention. Boundaries aren't about controlling her. They're about establishing that he respects himself enough not to accept poor treatment. And here's the part that's hard for fathers to say but critical for sons to hear. If she can't respect boundaries, she's not the right woman. Better to discover that in the first 3 months than 3 years in when he's financially entangled and emotionally exhausted. Third truth. He should never make any woman his primary purpose. Now let me nuance this because I've seen the pushback. This isn't about never prioritizing your wife. This is about not making just any woman the center of your universe before you know if she's worthy of that position. Young men naturally want to make their romantic partner central to their lives. They think this demonstrates love and commitment. And with the right woman, a woman who genuinely values him and reciprocates that investment, making her a priority is beautiful. That's partnership. But most young men don't have the discernment to know if she's the right woman. So they make her the center of everything immediately. And several things happen, all bad. He becomes needy. His happiness depends on her. He needs her validation to feel good about himself. This is profoundly unattractive. He becomes boring, no goals he's pursuing, no growth occurring, nothing interesting happening outside the relationship. He's stagnant, and stagnation kills attraction. He signals low value. By making her his entire world, he communicates that he has nothing else going on, no other options, no life beyond her. Tell your son, your primary focus should be your mission, your career, your development, your goals, building wealth, building competence, creating value. She should fit into the life you're building. She supports your mission, but she's not the mission itself. And here's the distinction that matters. With the right woman, making her a priority enhances your mission rather than replacing it. She adds to what you're building. She makes you better at pursuing your goals. That's when prioritizing her makes sense. But if making her a priority means abandoning your goals, sacrificing your growth, giving up your purpose, she's the wrong woman. And sacrificing purpose for any woman creates resentment that destroys relationships anyway. Fourth truth. He must protect his resources ruthlessly. This is where young men destroy themselves financially. Tell your son explicitly. His time, money, energy, attention, these are valuable. They should be invested strategically in women who reciprocate and demonstrate value, never given freely to women who take without giving back. Specific boundaries you need to teach. Never provide financial support before marriage, and be extremely cautious even then. He should not pay her rent, her bills, buy her car, fund her lifestyle. Once financial support starts, pattern is established. She becomes accustomed to his provision. If the relationship ends, those resources are gone to someone who didn't value him enough to stay. I know a young man, mid-20s, who paid off his girlfriend's student loans, $50,000. Because we're a team, he said. She left him 6 months later for someone else. $50,000 gone. To a woman who's now building a life with another man, that money represented years of his labor, gone, because nobody told him to protect his resources until commitment was mutual and proven. Prenuptial agreements. If your son marries and he has assets, he must have a prenup. Now let me be realistic about this. Prenups aren't magic. Some courts will throw them out, especially in certain states. California is notorious for ignoring prenups. But even an imperfect protection is better than no protection. And here's what the prenup conversation reveals. If she refuses to sign, she's showing you something critical. She wants access to his resources without reciprocal commitment. She wants the option to leave with his assets. That's not someone he should marry. Good women who genuinely love him will sign prenups because they're not with him for money. They're with him for him. If she makes the prenup a deal breaker, she just told you everything you need to know. Fifth truth. What women want changes dramatically with age. Your son needs to understand this before he wastes time on women at the wrong life stage or gets manipulated by women whose sudden interest has nothing to do with valuing him. Women in their late teens and 20s are attracted to excitement, status, physical appearance, social validation. They want fun, unpredictable, socially connected men. If your son is a stable, reliable guy in his early 20s, he's probably not what these women seek right now. They're dating exciting guys, men with edge, socially dominant men. Your son might get friend-zoned as the nice guy who's not attractive to them yet. This will hurt. Tell him it's not personal, it's timing. Those women are in a phase where his qualities aren't valued yet. Women in their late 20s start transitioning. The excitement phase delivered fun, but didn't deliver commitment from high-value men. Biological clock starts ticking, social pressure increases. Priorities shift towards stable men for long term. Women in their 30s, urgency phase. Biological clock screaming, fertility declining, panic about running out of time. Women in this phase are often desperate for commitment from stable men. They'll move fast. Relationship to marriage quickly because timeline is urgent. Your son needs to understand. Her urgency is her problem, not his emergency. If she's pressuring marriage after short courtship, she's not choosing him specifically. She's choosing any acceptable man who can provide stable life and children before fertility window closes. And here's the critical pattern. Many women want stable, reliable men only after giving their best years, peak attractiveness, sexual enthusiasm, youthful energy to men who didn't commit. They want your son to commit to what's left after being diminished by poor choices and years of drama with other men. Tell your son clearly, you deserve to be first choice, not backup plan. You deserve women who chose you when they had options, not when you became the best option they could still attract. Don't accept settlement offers from women who wouldn't have chosen you when they were younger and had more options. If he wants family, he should consider women in their early to mid-20s who have time, who aren't desperate, who can build relationship naturally without urgency-driven pressure. Not because older women are worthless, but because fertility is real, biological clocks are real, and desperation creates bad decision-making on both sides. Sixth truth. Red flags require immediate action, not rationalization. Most young men see red flags and excuse them, minimize them, believe they can fix them. They can't. Red flags predict disaster. Walking away early is always easier than extracting yourself later. Here are the absolute deal breakers. Chronic disrespect. If she's consistently dismissive, mocking, treating him like he's incompetent, walk immediately. Disrespect doesn't improve, it escalates. One instance, address it, set boundary. Pattern of disrespect ended, promiscuous past. If she's had many sexual partners, frequent casual relationships, one-night stands, do not commit long-term. Absolutely do not marry. This isn't moral judgment, it's statistical reality. Research consistently shows more sexual partners before marriage correlates with higher divorce rates, lower marital satisfaction, higher infidelity risk. Women with many partners have difficulty pair bonding. The bonding mechanism gets damaged by repeated short-term connections. Her past predicts future behavior. Tell your son to believe the data, not her explanation of why it doesn't apply to her. No relationship with father. If she has terrible relationship with father, absent father, hates him, describes him with contempt, understand that unresolved father wounds will be projected onto your son. She never learned to value masculine qualities. She'll punish him for what her father did or didn't do. Unless she's actively worked through father issues with professional help and has healthy perspective, avoid this. Your son cannot fix her relationship with her father by being a better man. It doesn't work that way. Serious mental health issues, severe anxiety, depression, personality disorders, past suicide attempts, self-harm history. Your son is not her therapist, not her savior, cannot fix her. Her mental health problems will become his problem, managing crises, walking on eggshells, sacrificing his stability for her instability. Unless she's actively addressing these professionally with demonstrated sustained stability over years, not months, don't commit. Constant drama. If her life is perpetual drama, conflicts with everyone, constant crises, always emergencies, she's the common denominator creating it. Drama follows dramatic people. If he commits, her chaos becomes his chaos. Peaceful women have peaceful lives. If everywhere she goes there's conflict, she's bringing the conflict. Financial irresponsibility, terrible with money, significant debt from overspending, impulsive purchases, no savings despite decent income, expects others to fund lifestyle. Financial incompatibility destroys marriages. Her poor money management becomes his problem once they're entangled. If she can't manage money before marriage, marriage won't fix it. It will make it his problem. Unwillingness to take accountability. Never admits fault. Never apologizes genuinely. Always blames others. Always positions herself as victim. This reveals character flaw, making healthy relationship impossible. Relationships require both parties acknowledging mistakes. If she can't take accountability, every problem will be his fault. Every conflict his responsibility to fix. Make this absolutely clear to your son. Physical attraction doesn't compensate for character flaws that will destroy him. When he sees these red flags, walk away immediately. No exceptions. His future self will thank him. Now let me address modern marriage directly. This is the most important conversation. You need to explain in brutal detail what modern marriage actually is. Not the romantic ideal, the legal and practical reality. Marriage has changed fundamentally. What it used to be, partnership with defined roles, man provided resources and protection, woman provided domestic labor, sexual exclusivity, children, support. Both had obligations, both received benefits. Contract was relatively balanced, what marriage is now. All traditional male obligations remain, while most traditional female obligations are eliminated. He's expected to provide financially, at least equal, often more. Expected to split domestic labor 50-50 regardless of income contribution. Expected to provide emotional labor constantly. He maintains all traditional male responsibilities while receiving none of traditional male authority or benefits. Meanwhile, she maintains freedom to end marriage anytime for any reason, taking half or more of assets, receiving alimony potentially for years, gaining primary custody of children while he loses access but still funds them. The statistics your son must know. 50% of marriages end in divorce. Coin flip whether his marriage succeeds. 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. She'll likely end it, not him. In divorce, he'll typically lose 50% or more of assets, alimony for years potentially, primary custody of children, his home, ongoing child support with minimal custody, his peace and stability, what he's actually agreeing to, a contract where he commits all resources to shared enterprise, loses autonomy over money, time, decisions, accepts ongoing performance requirements to maintain her satisfaction, risks losing everything if she decides to end it, has minimal legal protection, will likely lose children in separation, and she can end the contract any time for any reason, keeps half or more resources regardless of contribution, receives ongoing financial support after ending contract, retains primary access to children, faces minimal consequences for ending contract, has legal system biased in her favor. Now, does this mean never marry? No, but it means marry with full information and extreme caution when marriage might make sense. She's demonstrated loyalty over many years, not months. She's signing prenup protecting his assets, understanding it might not hold, but she's willing. She comes from stable family with low divorce rates. She's consistently demonstrated she values him specifically, not just what he provides. She's shown accountability and handles conflict maturely. He's seen her under stress, and she remains stable. He actually wants children, and she's young enough that fertility isn't an urgent panic factor. When marriage definitely doesn't make sense, he doesn't want children. Eliminates primary reason. She's over 35. Fertility urgency creates desperation. Short courtship. Needs years to see patterns. She refuses prenup. Shows she values access to resources. She has any of the red flags mentioned earlier. He's successful, wealthy, more to lose. She initiated marriage discussion. Her timeline, not genuine mutual desire. Tell your son. Be extremely cautious about marriage. Understand fully what you're agreeing to. Protect yourself legally if you marry. Don't let any woman pressure you into commitment before you're ready or with terms that don't protect you. Many men are choosing long-term relationships without marriage. Commitment, companionship, partnership, but protecting assets, maintaining legal autonomy, preserving ability to exit without losing everything. She won't like this. She'll pressure marriage. But understand marriage benefits her far more than it benefits him. Her pressure is about securing her interests, not proving his love. Seventh truth. He needs to develop what people call abundance mindset, but let me clarify what this actually means because it gets misunderstood. Abundance doesn't mean dating 5 women simultaneously and juggling schedules. That's exhausting and expensive and creates more problems than it solves. Abundance means being genuinely okay whether this specific woman is in his life or not. It means recognizing she's great but not the only great woman who exists. It means being willing to walk away from poor treatment. Scarcity looks like believing this woman is his only option, tolerating poor treatment because he's afraid to lose her, making major compromises to keep her, being overly available, seeking her approval constantly. Why is scarcity deadly? Women sense it. When he operates from scarcity, he communicates, I don't have options. I need you specifically. I'm afraid to lose you. I'll tolerate poor treatment to keep you. This is profoundly unattractive. It positions him as desperate, low-value man. And women cannot maintain attraction to desperate men. How to develop abundance. Actually build himself into someone with options. Focus on career, development, fitness, social skills. When building something meaningful, women become less central. Maintain social life. Keep friendships, hobbies, activities that don't involve her. Be genuinely willing to walk away. This is critical. If not willing to lose her, he doesn't have abundance. Remember, women are abundant, thousands compatible in his city. This specific woman might be great, but she's not irreplaceable. The paradox. When he needs her least, she wants him most. When outcome independent and genuinely okay with or without her, he becomes most attractive. When desperate to keep her, he becomes least attractive. Eighth truth. He must never lose himself in any relationship. Young men enter relationships with strong identities, clear values, defined purposes, active social lives, hobbies they love. Then slowly over months and years, they sacrifice all of it to serve the relationship. They stop pursuing hobbies because she doesn't share interest. They drift from friends because she doesn't like them. They abandon goals because they conflict with her preferences. They make relationship their entire life with no identity outside it. Why this is devastating. The moment he loses himself, she loses attraction. Women are not attracted to men whose entire world revolves around them. They're attracted to men who have purposes beyond them, lives that would continue and thrive without them. How to maintain himself. Keep mission primary. Purpose, career, goals remain focus. She fits into life he's building, not the life itself. Maintain friendships. Keep seeing friends regularly. Have social life outside relationship. Keep hobbies. Continue pursuing activities he loves even if she doesn't participate. Maintain standards. Don't compromise values or beliefs to avoid conflict. Keep independence. Make decisions independently. Inform her of plans but don't require approval. Maintain boundaries. When she pushes against independence, wants more time, more attention, more sacrifice, hold boundaries. The paradox again. The more he maintains himself, the more attracted she remains. The more he has going on, the more she wants to be part of his life. The less he needs her, the more she wants to be needed. Conversely, the more he sacrifices himself, the less attracted she becomes. Make this crystal clear. His identity, purpose, independence, these aren't obstacles to good relationship. They're requirements for it. Never lose yourself trying to keep a woman. The moment you do, you've lost her anyway and lost yourself in the process. Now let me address what I know some of you are thinking. What if I just tell him to avoid women entirely? What if the safest path is simply opting out? And look, that's a valid choice. If your son looks at modern relationship dynamics honestly and decides the risks outweigh the benefits, that's rational decision-making. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. Men who choose to build lives without romantic relationships, who focus entirely on career, friendships, hobbies, purpose, who find fulfillment outside partnership, those men often live peaceful, successful, meaningful lives. There's no shame in choosing that path. But that has to be his choice, made with full information, not a choice made from fear or ignorance. The goal of this conversation isn't to make him afraid of women. It's to make him informed, to give him the tools to navigate relationships successfully if he chooses to pursue them, to protect him from the worst outcomes, to ensure that if he does commit to someone, he's doing it with eyes open, with boundaries established, with his assets protected. Some young men will hear all of this and still make mistakes. Some will ignore every warning because they're convinced their situation is different. That's the reality of youth. Hormones, optimism, and inexperience create a stubbornness that no amount of wise counsel can always penetrate. But you still have the conversation, because even if he doesn't fully absorb it now, even if he thinks you're being cynical or bitter or overprotective, you've planted seeds. And when patterns start emerging in his relationships, when things start going wrong, he'll remember. Oh, that's what he was warning me about. And that memory might save him from the worst decisions. Let me close with something for the fathers who feel guilty about this conversation, who worry they're poisoning their sons against women or making them cynical. You're not. You're doing what fathers are supposed to do, preparing your sons for reality, giving them information that protects them, teaching them to recognize danger before it destroys them. This isn't about hating women. Good women exist. Women who genuinely value good men. Women who are faithful, supportive, reasonable, kind. Women who make excellent partners and mothers. Your son can find one of those women. But he needs to know how to recognize her. And more importantly, he needs to know how to recognize the ones who will destroy him. That's what this conversation provides. Discernment. The alternative to this conversation is sending him into modern dating and marriage completely naive. Believing Disney narratives, thinking that being nice and communicating well is enough, trusting that love conquers all, and then watching him get destroyed when reality doesn't match the fairy tale. Your discomfort with being called bitter or toxic or misogynistic, that discomfort is nothing compared to watching your son lose his house, his children, his savings, his peace, his future to dynamics nobody warned him about. Have the conversation anyway. To the men watching this who never got this conversation from their fathers, who learned these lessons through devastating experience, use what you learned. Protect the next generation. Be the father figure to young men in your life that you wish you'd had. Break the cycle. And to the mothers watching this who actually care about their sons' futures, yes, some of you are here. Some of you see these dynamics clearly and want to protect your boys from them. You can have versions of this conversation too. You know female nature better than any man. You know the games, the manipulation, the tactics. If you genuinely love your son, warn him. Tell him what to watch for. Give him the information that protects him. Don't prioritize female solidarity over your son's well-being. The conversation society tried to ban is the conversation that could save the next generation. Have it with your sons. Have it with your grandsons. Have it with the young men in your life who trust you enough to listen. Give them the information their fathers didn't have, the warnings their schools won't provide, the reality check their culture actively suppresses, not because you're bitter, not because you hate women, but because you love these young men enough to tell them the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable, even when society calls you toxic for saying it. Their futures are worth more than anyone's comfort with these truths. Protect them.